Hey everyone, welcome to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. This episode is going to give you a very simple framework so that you can build your wholesaling journey and build your wholesaling business with three simple things. You need clarity, volume, and consistency. And in this episode, we're going to dive in to each of those things and help you.
Yep, and I'm the co-host, David Lecko, who created a process that's helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states. With the software platform called DealMachine. And if you don't know what wholesaling is, it's a strategy for making $20,000 for finding a rundown property, essentially, and passing it to an investor who'll close on it.
And my name is Ryan Haywood. And since 2019, I've done over 400 wholesaling transactions. And we started simply with the intent of replacing our 9-to-5 income to support our family. And it's been a wonderful journey, and we hope that you enjoy this episode.
Brian, great to have you on the show. I know you've got a framework called clarity, volume, and consistency, rather. And so I wanted you to tell us your background and how you ended up developing this framework and how we can use it as wholesalers to make sure that we're successful.
Absolutely, David. And guys, thank you so much, David and Ryan, for having me on this podcast. While I'm not a wholesaler myself, we help hundreds of wholesalers within our community as well, and they're absolutely crushing it. We have everything from like wholesaling, land flipping, commercial real estate, business acquisition. And when you really chunk it all down, I've got this pretty cool emotional flow chart, right? So people that are maybe doing their first couple of deals in wholesaling or in real estate in general, maybe like having all this analysis paralysis, and they get all this stress and anxiety, and it prevents them from taking capital A action, right? And so what frameworks allow for is for people to realize that you don't need to be emotional, stressed out, or irritated, or worried about anything that has to do with real estate investing, because people have done this before y'all. And it's like, once you realize that, then you can apply that to all of real estate investing. There's only 3 to 5 actions that you could take to take down a commercial property. There's only 3 to 5 actions to take down a business. And there's only 3 to 5 actions to take down wholesale deals. And today we'll have a really cool dialogue, and then we'll bake it within the CVC framework, which is what I coined in my book, From Passive to Passionate, How to Quit Your Job, Grow Your Wealth, and Turn Your Passions into Profits. So the question that you guys are asking is, why listen to me for the next 20, 30 minutes as we go through this? My name is Brian Lubin. In the next 90 seconds, I'll convince you, hopefully, and then y'all leave a 5-star rating and a review for David and Ryan here. So I was a corporate guy. I was making $250,000 a year as a sales rep, B2B, in corporate America. Fortune 500, made it to the top of the company, number 8 out of 5,079. After doing that, I looked at my boss's boss, realized that this was not the path that I wanted to progress upon. And just like all of you listening to this show, I wanted to find a way to escape. And there was 2 different ways. You have the fast cash, more active, like wholesaling, where you're like, hey, I need the money now. And then there's the passive route where you do the buy and hold, right? So I did a little bit of both. And then the buy and hold is what got me out. In March of 2022, I quit that corporate job and I went to travel full-time around the world for 8 months. And since that point, I spend 50% of my time traveling while building my own business, like David over here, from $0 to $10 million a year. So that is me today. And I run a podcast, the Action Academy podcast. So this framework has come across not just me kind of like wading around the waters. This framework has come from me interviewing every single day multimillionaires on my podcast, the Action Academy. And I've interviewed over 469 multimillionaires and 3 billionaires on the show. And then David was on my show as well. And so what I do on the show is I'm spending so much intimate time with these people 24/7. I do 3 episodes a week where I'm interviewing people. And I've done that for 2.5 years. And as you do it, you look for patterns, right? None of us want to be the next Elon Musk. We don't need to be Bezos or Zuckerberg. We can make millions by doing predictable systems, predictable patterns, so that we can just plug in and play. We don't have to recreate something from scratch. So I was looking for different frameworks that I could pull from all of these people that were successful through business, through real estate, through wholesaling. I was just like, what are the common denominators? What is the common thread that anybody can apply? And I finally figured it out. I call it the CVC framework. And that starts with clarity. The V is for volume. Then the last C is for consistency. So I'll pause there before I get going any further, David.
Yeah. One of the things I was actually just thinking about was, you said there's only 3 to 5 actions to take down a corporate property, or 3 to 5 actions to acquire a business, and 3 to 5 actions to take down a wholesale deal. And that just made me excited because I think I could do any of those things when you make it sound so simple. So I'm excited to dive into the framework.
Yeah. So the framework starts with clarity, first C, right? So the first C is there's three different levels of clarity. So there's directional, sequential, and tactical, right? So when it comes to clarity, we first begin with the end in mind. So why am I doing what I'm doing? So people that are listening to this may be seasoned wholesalers trying to scale your business and actually create a business out of it, right? Instead of just flipping or wholesaling a couple properties by yourself. You could be, so you're trying to do that. You're trying to figure out how to, maybe replace your income and hit financial freedom so you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want, right? So that's directional clarity. That is knowing where we are heading instead of just, I'm going to start wholesaling. Instead, what we do is we say, okay, this is the life that I want. I need to replace $80,000 a year in income, all right? I want to go travel. I want to do this. I want to do that. That impacts the decisions that you make when it comes to the formulation of your wholesaling business or the practices that you do or the teams that you build. Because if you're local, maybe you can do the stuff more yourself. But if you want to travel, you have to establish a team, right? So that you can do it while you're anywhere with a Mac and a Wi-Fi connection. So that's directional clarity, is we start with the end in mind. And then that allows us to be able to create our business plan, right? So that goes down to sequential. How fast do we want to do it? So the actions and business and team of a person that's trying to wholesale 10 properties a month versus 10 properties a year versus I just want to get my first deal done this year is completely different. So when you know where you're heading, let's say that $80,000, and you know that you want to do it this year, you're like, okay, how do I do that this year or within 2 years? I want that as profit. Okay, cool. Now we have more data to be able to go on for this clarity journey, right? And then the last part of it is tactical. So it's directional, sequential, tactical for the clarity. And then the tactical is, okay, now that I know what's required, I know where I'm going, I know how fast I want to get there. Now, who has done that and who has built a machine, pun intended, no pun intended here, who has built a machine, who has built a business that has accomplished this result that I am seeking, right? And then that's where you can begin to find the people and the processes, and most importantly, the models within which to follow to take down the asset. So this is such a different journey than I want to learn wholesaling, I want to go wholesale, and then you're just blindly, you don't know what your profit you're aiming for, you don't know what market you really want, you're just trying to get a deal done versus I need to replace $80,000 a year. That is what I need to get out of this freaking job that I hate. Okay, who is doing that regularly? And how can I go enter their world so that I can become the same exact as them, And then that's the same thing. I've seen it repeat over all of these interviews, and I do it myself. Right now, I'm going into boutique hotel investing this next year. I want to take down $25 million of boutique hotels. I'm not going to just read books and listen to podcasts. I'm going to go find the person that's taken down $25 million of boutique hotels in their sleep and partner with them. Same thing with wholesaling. There's enough room for everybody. Guys, Ryan and David, please feel free at any time to be like, hey, you are wrong here.
No, you're not wrong.
So I just listened to an episode of your podcast, Action Academy, and it was how to connect with somebody who's doing what you want to do. And you actually laid down some bars when it came to networking advice. So do you want to give us a little bit of that here right now?
Yeah, sure. You just DM them and say, can I pick your brain? That's what you do.
No way. I'm not.
No, that doesn't work. No, that absolutely does not work at all. So what you do, so say that you want to get into David's world, right? And, I won't. So I know David's, I'll keep it general because I know how to actually get in David's world because I am in David's world. But I would say maybe you're from afar and you're like, okay, I want to get in David's world. I want to get into this guy, Eric, is doing so much volume in my market. He's crushing my local market. He's got all the properties. And you're like, okay, so Eric is crushing it. I have no idea what I'm doing. So there's only 3 things that you can bring to a real estate transaction, and that's knowledge, money, or hustle. So you're either going to be the capital or find the capital. You're going to be the person that bird dogs the deal and gets the deal under contract, or you're going to be the person that orchestrates the team and everyone together to actually make the symphony play, right? So in the beginning, you don't really have knowledge. You definitely don't have money. So all you have is hustle. through hustle is how you get money and knowledge. So what you do is you go follow this person on social media, whatever they're doing. They'll probably be active in your local real estate Facebook group. Every single major metropolitan has a Facebook community. That's where I found all my first mentors, was through that and podcasts. And I would go and search like you search wholesaling, like Atlanta, wholesaling Tampa, wholesaling wherever. And like I would do that for multifamily. I would do that for self-storage. Like that is how I would find people that were on podcasts and stuff. And then you go follow them and you engage with their content. You're making micro deposits. So you're just saying, hey, like, love this. Like, this is super helpful. You're sharing their podcast to your story. If they wrote a book, you're sharing it to your story. If they have a deal, like, you're like, what's your buy box? You're sharing it to your story. You're like, hey, I want to help you in any way possible. And then they're like, who is this random person that's just helping me? And you don't ask them of anything. You just provide value. And the most important part of this is you provide specific value. Specific value. You do not go to this person and say, can I pick your brain? Or, hey, I'll do anything you hate doing for free. Does not work. That gives us more work as an entrepreneur to figure out what the heck we should give you, because we don't know what you're good at yet. So you're going to find, okay, is like their problem with lead flow, is their problem with capital. Like they're going to have one of these bottlenecks in their business. So what you're going to do is then you're going to go to them and say, hey, okay, you've got a problem with capital. Hey, I just talked to like 5 people and I want to introduce you to these people. Like they've got money, they want to invest in real estate. Let me connect you. And all of a sudden they're going to take any call that you want. So in multifamily and all these, like I'd go tour properties. I'd help people like junk out their properties. I'd help people like tour apartments and stuff like that. Like that is how I got into the game, is helping people with that. The same process. And then, and you only find that person when you have clarity. The more clear you are, the easier this person is to find. And there's only going to be like, a handful of people that are running any market. Any market, there's a handful that are at the top. And I promise you, if they're making that much money, like the people that make the money are actually, from my experience personally, the most generous with their time. Yeah. So if they're making money and you're actually worth something and you're providing real value to them, they're the ones that are like, hey, like I'll spread the love. Like I'll share the pie. Like here's a couple deals. Like let me help you get into the game. So then hopefully that answered that question. Like that is I've done that for like 6 years. I'm really good at that.
It reminds me of one of these stories. You're absolutely right. You've got to provide specific value and you've got to do your homework to find out what that value would be to that person. I think we all know Kong Lee. He's got about 500,000 followers on Instagram and he's a real estate wholesaler. And he got tons of DMs from people asking if they wanted to have him edit, if they could edit a video for him.
Sure.
But the video editor I use is actually his video editor. Her name's Aim. And the way she became his video editor is because she took it upon herself to find his existing content. She made a new video from what she could find online, and she sent that to him. So she didn't ask permission if she could edit a video, causing him extra work to figure out, well, what's the video even supposed to be? She used her creative skills and what was available to just edit the video and just send it to him, and he just posted it, and they'd been doing videos, and she's been working for him ever since. So great example of what exactly you're saying.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom.
Yeah, then that takes us to the V, right? So now we know where we're going, how fast we want to get there, and we know the tactic that we're going to do for this podcast is freaking wholesaling. That is what we're talking about. So you know that you want to wholesale. That's going to be your asset. That's going to be your business. We know how fast we're going to get there. We know where we're going. Now that goes into V, volume, right? So volume is now, most of the time, it's C and the V that are the biggest bottlenecks in somebody's real estate investing journey. So they're unclear of where they're going and what their buy box is, and then they're not taking the proper amount of action. So back in the day, when I went and I was a sales rep, go on.
Keep going.
Oh yeah. So back in the day when I was a sales rep, I came into the company young, hungry, and ready to learn, right? And as I was doing that, I went to the top rep in the country, and she was in Wyoming. And I go to her and I say, "You're the top rep. I want to be the top rep within this year. What do you do?" And to this day, I could tell you exactly what she told me because it's what I freaking did. She did 20 cold calls a day, and she did 50 door knocks per week. So that means that she was going door to door and knocking on the doors of businesses, 50 of those per week, to prospect for new potential customers. And she was making 20 cold calls a day. So 100 cold calls a week. And so for me, I was like, that's simply the system that I'm going to follow to do this. Like, that's the volume that she does. I'll do the same volume. And I did that volume, and I never looked around at the underperformers, the mid-market reps. I never looked at what they were doing. And I realized after that, when I won all the awards, I got all the money, I made all the clubs and hit all the accolades, I looked around and I was doing 10 times what they were doing. And so I'm just like, that's the issue, is you're unclear of where you're going, and most importantly, you're unclear of the amount of volume that it takes to get there. Now, I think in real estate investing, I can definitely say from my experience watching people with wholesaling, it's like you're not sending nearly enough mailers. You're like, oh, I made 20 cold calls and I sent 100 mailers out. You're like, try 100,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So DealMachine is a software platform people use for driving for dollars, sending mailers, getting data about property owners, cold calling, texting. And so we've been around for 7 years. And we keep track, right? We've helped 10,000 people actually get their first deal. But for that 10,000, there's 50,000 who came in and didn't, right? And so don't let that discourage you. I'll just tell you this. When we do an account review, when somebody cancels and we get on the phone and figure out what happened, they've only added 10 properties. And they say, man, this just doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the volume that's missing from basically all of the 50,000 who didn't have success. So it's not that it's like that hard to start a business. You always hear like 90% of these businesses fail. But the reason they fail isn't like this crazy rocket science to figure out. It's actually they did not follow the proven process of the proven business model that already exists that we're just trying to replicate when we're starting out as wholesalers. So they just haven't done enough volume.
Yeah. Alex Ramosi has a wonderful story on this that I love sharing. And that's that when he started his first gym, he went to his mentor and he said, hey, man, like, what should I do to fill the first gym on opening? And he goes, you should post flyers. And so Alex says, okay, cool, I'm going to go post flyers. And he put 300 flyers up all around the city. And then the day of opening comes and no one's in there. And he goes to the mentor. He goes, what the hell, dude? What's going on? Like, what? I put up flyers. He goes, well, how many did you put up? And he goes, 300. And he's like, dude, I don't even test for less than 30,000. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then so
the part was he actually was putting them on cars. And he said the only person who called him back was a guy who thought he scratched his Mercedes when he
correct
at the flyer under his windshield.
It's the same thing. So maybe you're like,
feels
okay,
it feels discouraging unless you know the type of volume that you need to do.
Yeah, but David, I'm making the cold calls. But Ryan, I'm sending the mailers. I'm doing the door knocks. I'm driving for dollars. I'm on the DealMachine app. You're not doing it enough.
Yeah.
And that is the V in the CVC formula. It's the clarity and it's the volume. Are you clear of where you're going, and are you doing the proper volume of actions that will require the anticipated result? If you're going to the gym again and closing here, like, you need to know your calories. You need to know how many calories you consume, how many you need to lose, and how much cardio you need to do. Like, all of life is just an equation waiting to be solved. And the good news is, like, we're all smart people, so we do businesses that people have figured out before us. So we don't try to put people on Mars. We'll leave that to Elon. And then this leads to the last and final C of the framework, which is the worst part of the framework. And it is the one that you guys run into. I ran into it a million times, and that is consistency.
Yep.
When you have your clarity, when you have your proper volume, it still will require an allotted amount of time of doing that action at the proper volume to yield the result. David, your first wholesale deal, it took you like 6 months, right? To even get your first one, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, 7 months.
Yeah. So it's just like, and that was like doing the proper actions. Like, and an example of this in another context is like, I run my podcast. When I started my podcast, I was like, I want 1 million downloads that first year. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do 5 episodes a week. I'm going to advertise it. I'm going to do everything. And it still wasn't enough. Here we are 2.5 years later, and I'm about to hit 1 million downloads. So it's like, I had to do that same amount of action, that same amount of volume with the same amount of clarity, but my framework, my time frame was way off. So I had to continue doing it. So it's like, now I tell people, oh, well, if you're going to start a podcast, 2 years minimum, like, commit to it. And then it's the same thing with wholesaling. It's the same thing with commercial. It's the same thing with business acquisition. It's like, okay, if we just need to get you a couple of these deals done a year to like change your freaking life, like let's aim for the correct deals. And then, so that's the CVC framework. And that's helped me. That's helped hundreds of my students. That helped thousands of people that we have on the podcast, and hopefully people that read the book too. Like that is what we do: clarity, volume, and consistency.
You know, it's crazy. I talk about the whole consistency thing so much because we have felt in our own business, and we've had multiple different salespeople working for us, but they all have done the same thing. And I was guilty of it too. The first year that I was doing this, I always refer to it as the parachute effect. So I've never jumped out of an airplane. I've never went skydiving, but I know there's two things that are fact of it. When you jump out, you're free falling and you're going really fast. And I know the second thing, the minute that you pull the cord, everything just slows down. So what I tell people, I'm like, you're doing things really good. You're in that free fall, and that's where you have to stay in order to be consistent. You have to stay in that free fall zone. But the minute that you get comfortable, and we've all done it, the minute you get comfortable, you pull the cord. And then you just, the chute goes out, and there's this just, it jerks you, and you're just like, oh, now you're going really slow. And everything feels comfortable. But at one point in time, you're going to say, man, I don't know why business slowed down. Why? I can tell you why. You stopped with the consistency. You stopped sending postcards. You stopped doing cold calls. You stopped driving for dollars. That's why, and it usually you don't notice it right away. You notice it the next month or 5 days later. Yeah. So we talk about that all the time in our own business. Stay consistent. It's much easier to just stay consistent than it is to catch up. So,
yeah. Same thing in sales too.
Ryan, I want you to actually think about what are the 3 to 5 steps that you need to do to close that first wholesale deal, and then give us an idea of the volume, but not yet. First of all, though, I wanted to kind of give you, Brian, some flowers. Man, it's just so clear how good you've gotten at storytelling and podcasting using the same principles we're talking about, doing a podcast every single day until it was big enough that people joined your community, replace your $80,000 a year salary. I don't actually know how much you made, but you used that.
Dude, my salary was only 45. All the rest is commission. So I've been in this, man. I've been clarity, volume, and consistency since the rip. I wasn't eating if I wasn't getting some freaking deals.
Right.
So it's just the same sales, man. And that's a cool point too, is like you have career capital. Like we don't need to discount the 5-10 years that we've been in corporate doing our jobs. Like apply that to what you're doing today. You know, like one of my dear friends, Logan Rankin, was the VP of operations for Target nationally. And now he's got like $200 million in multifamily because he was able to apply that operations brain to building like this dream team of like 60 people that run that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of commercial real estate.
Yeah. He's a baller. He did it without any capital raising too. He did it all like internal. He never did syndications. It was really cool.
Well, I'm sure you've interviewed him on your podcast, Action Academy. So check that out, guys. And also check out Brian's book, From Passive to Passionate. And anything else you'd want to say about who should read that book, or closing final thoughts?
Yeah, 1,000%. So the book is literally, how to quit your job, travel the world, build your own business. We talk about wholesaling in there, as well as like buy and hold, everything from like seller financing, different negotiation tactics and strategies, to buying businesses, to starting your own side hustle. So we give all the different playbooks and models that you would need for just about any asset in the book. The first half's mindset, the back half is tactical. So it's From Passive to Passionate. It's on Amazon. But closing advice I would give is just, if I could give one difference maker between like the people that I see that crush it, that are on my podcast and that are on this podcast, versus people that are kind of floundering, is literally just environment. And it's not even necessarily the advice that you get. It's more so osmosis of just like a standard. Because like when I hang out with David a good bit in Austin until I became a race car driver. And so it's just like, I'm like, this guy holds himself to a standard. Like that's what I want to hold myself to. David got ripped. I was like, I'm going to go get freaking ripped. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm using my CVC for getting my freaking 6-pack back. And so it's just all about environment. That's why I moved to Austin, Texas, too, to be like here with everybody that's got way more commas and zeros than I do. And so it's this.
I thought I was rich until I moved to Austin.
Yeah, dude. Exactly.
I ain't shit.
Exactly. And so that's the big thing is like, stop asking your mom, your uncle, or like your friend Felipe that maybe did 2 deals. Like, go to the freaking person that is like the crusher in your market and just be in their world so much that you're just like, of course I do 10 deals a month. Like, that's all I know. Like, that's what they've been doing. Like, I'm just going to build a business that does 10. So when I started my business, I was like, of course I'm going to do $1 million my first year. Why wouldn't I do $1 million my first year? Everyone else that I'm friends with does $1 million their first year. We did $1 million our first year. So it's being dumb enough to believe that you can actually do it first and foremost, then just applying the models and the systems. Easy enough. Y'all listen to this podcast. They give you all the answers.
It's a huge value of why I co-host this podcast and lucky to do so with Ryan, right? Because he's doing about 5x, 10x more deals than I do. I mean, I'm doing about 20 per year. Not even that much yet, but Ryan's cranking out, 73 in his first year. So, Brian, we want to close out the episode with you. What are, if you break it down, 3 to 5 steps to doing that first wholesale deal?
Yeah, it's easy. So 3 to 5 steps. First off, I'm going to just tell you exactly what I did. And I know that we're not trying to make a plug here, but get the DealMachine app and you need to go out and drive for dollars and add 250 leads for every week for the next month. It's going to, reason that we say per week, it's going to gain consistency, right? So you start that pattern of consistency by adding leads every week. Instead of, you could just go out and do 1,000 right at the beginning of the month and then stop. But you want to create that pattern. So might as well do that now. The next thing you're going to need to do is start making connections with other investors. You can do that online through real estate groups in your local markets. You can do that by going and meeting realtors in the area who have investors that are going to be looking for deals. It's hard to break it down to the 3 steps, but you're going to get a call from one of those postcards. So you need to be prepared to go out and look at a property. So I would familiarize yourself with a formula to analyze that deal. So you want to make sure that you know your average market value for a house. You want to have an idea of how to estimate repair costs. And then you need to be able to come up with a offer on the spot. Once you get that property under contract, go back to all those connections that you made with realtors and other people that are in the meetups and online on Facebook and pitch that deal to them. Chances are somebody in that group is going to have a buyer for your deal, and then you've got your first deal.
Love it. And I loved how you incorporated the volume in there too. So I think that's a great ending spot for this episode. Brian, thank you so much for coming on. You've been one of my favorite guests because you're a real pro in podcasting and you're just a great storyteller, man. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your CVC framework.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. See you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.